Welcome to the 8th annual Data Modeling Zone. I'd like to introduce our sponsors for the conference. So there are 3 reasons I love coming to DMZ. And one of them is to learn a lot of new techniques. And a very good source of knowledge is to talk to the sponsors. They can't go anywhere. They're at their table, so you can go up there. And actually, being a small conference, the sponsors are thought leaders in their areas. So you could talk to, for example, Joy, an author at Idera, learn more about their data management tools and ER Studio, which we'll be using in a few minutes. You can talk to Kent. Actually, can you guys wave your hands? So Arthur, yep, great. And Joy, thank you. And Kent and the Snowflake team, where are the Snowflake guys? Great. Talk to them about data warehousing in the cloud. And Accolade, where's Pascal? Great. Learn about his NoSQL data modeling tool. Genesee Academy is all about data vault training. Then we have Case Talk. Where is Marco and Jody? Are they in the room? Oh, they're right outside. Okay.
They're manning their table.
Manning their table. That's good sponsors. And talk to them about their fact-based data modeling tools. Data Modeling Institute is going to become a portal, a place for a lot of data modeling resources. Its first project is a data modeling certification. More on that tomorrow. DAMA International. How many DAMA members in the room? Awesome. Yep. So great to see. They've been a sponsor since our first event, 2012. So I said there's 3 reasons I love coming to DMZ. One is to learn, go to the sessions, talk to people, talk to the sponsors. Second reason is I love to catch up with friends. And somebody said today, I think it was Michelle, that really this is like our data modeling support group. Like we come here once a year because we can talk about issues that we all get. You know, this is the one place we can really talk about a lot of important data modeling issues. I also love to come here because speaking about these issues, I love to share some of my observations of the data modeling industry over the past year and see if you have similar experiences and maybe make some predictions what's going to happen in the future in our industry. So I worked on a number of different projects this year. And in preparing these slides, I was trying to think of a common theme across all of my projects. And I realized has to do with movies this year, has to do with different movies. First movie, Star Wars, where when I do data modeling, I don't know if you feel this way too, but I always feel like Luke Skywalker. I don't know if you guys feel that way. You come in there, you are the one who's going to change the world. You model the requirements, you do amazing things, you move on. This year, though, I was not Luke Skywalker. It was actually Yoda. By the way, I was not in Star Wars. This is a Photoshop. Just don't want to, there's no, yes, I know you're surprised. And actually, what was interesting is I worked on one project with a team of data governance people at a very large consumer product goods manufacturer, and they get data. But they had no idea what data modeling is or how to build models. And so, kind of like Yoda, I was able to show them how to use the skills they already had. They get data, but they just didn't know how to represent the models. And what happened was, I thought I was Luke Skywalker in the beginning of the project, and very quickly I realized I am not the hero on this team. I am on the sidelines, I'm little Yoda, and they're the heroes. And this is actually an example of some of the 60 iterations data governance did in this multinational corporation on modeling their finance area. They did data modeling using a combination of ER Studio and PowerPoint. And they were able to come up with a common set of terms and relationships across global finance, which they never were able to do before. I'd like to say I built these models, was Luke Skywalker, but I was just in the corner showing them how to use the Force, how to use the modeling. I don't know, maybe that's our relationship going forward with data governance. We're the Yoders. We are the Yodas. Ah, remember this movie? Karate Kid. This year, I was Mr. Miyagi. A lot of new people entering our field who are like clean slates. They know nothing about data modeling. They might have learned how to build databases or write code. They don't get data modeling, and they don't know it. So I was actually Mr. Miyagi. I was talking to my older daughter, and I was trying to practice some of the slides, and I said, this year I was Yoda and Mr. Miyagi. And she said, what's the difference? They're both old like you. I said, there is a difference here because Yoda helps somebody who has the skill, let them shine, bring it out, where Mr. Miyagi is kind of like molding clay, like somebody who doesn't get it at all. And one of the examples of this is Michelle. Where's Michelle in the room? So, Michelle in the room? Michelle. Okay, so Michelle and I teach a data modeling class at Columbia University. And we've been teaching actually for several semesters. And this past summer, to make them understand how powerful data modeling is, we modeled a soccer team. And after the semester, Columbia is really into data. They do a lot of surveys. They gave everyone a survey form, and somebody said this on their survey form, one of the students. I knew nothing about data modeling before this class. Now, I don't know how I did my job without it. I thought, that is the best praise. I will teach this class completely for free just to get comments like that. So we're our Mr. Miyagis. I don't know how many Mr. Miyagis there are in the room. Actually, Dan, you probably are Mr. Miyagi, right? Yeah, so a few of us are in here. So, third movie. We're Sherlock Holmes. So, yeah, we are. We definitely are Sherlock Holmes. Actually, that was not in the movie either, so I don't think I'm like a, national actor here. But I found myself talking to different business groups and trying to do whatever I could not to use the job role data modeler. Because I think I don't know if you've experienced this too, but when you talk to somebody on the business side and you say data modeler, what do you think they picture? What do you think? What comes to mind? Someone who makes this more complex. Yeah. Yeah, somebody who's like not the database administrator, not the business analyst, somebody else. And so I found myself using this term. Instead of a data modeler, a data detective. Yeah, ooh, ah. Thank you. And one example of this, so one of my projects this year, I worked with one of the largest financial companies in the world, and they're starting this massive project. I'll just talk about it at a very high level. They have a lot of legacy systems around the world, many different countries, and they're bringing in a very large vendor package. And they have to integrate all these legacy systems into the vendor package. Anybody can relate to that? So a lot of us in this room. So to kick off the project, they got the senior people involved on the business side, and they wanted me to explain what data modeling is. So they scheduled a meeting for 5:30 Friday afternoon on Wall Street, on the 40th floor of a gorgeous building. So nobody wants, and the title of the talk was Data Modeling Overview. You can imagine these people, this is not what they want to do on a Friday evening. So when I got in there, instead of me even mentioning the word data modeling, and these were senior HR people, I gave them all a quiz. They had a piece of paper, and they had to answer these questions. Instead of looking like this, which I think they were envisioning, I just asked them a few questions. They had to write down the answer. What's an employee? And it had to do with human resources and other questions too. And then afterwards, do your answers match your neighbors? And what do you think? Did they match? They were completely, and these guys were the top people in the company. I mean, they know HR and they don't know what an employee is. So they started arguing, well, what if someone's a part-time employee and they're also an intern? So it really gave us the ammunition, the power to say that data modeling raises the issues and in some cases solves them. So I see us being these roles, and I'm curious maybe during the rest of the conference if you had similar experiences being a Yoda, Mr. Miyagi, or a Sherlock Holmes. Now, on to the moment you've been waiting for. Drum roll. Norman, can you drum roll? Okay, that's close, that's close. Norman's going to be on tomorrow, but we won't talk about that yet. So, Philadelphia is known for many firsts. First daily newspaper, first hospital, first medical school, first general purpose computer, first zoo, and one more first as well. Philadelphia was the first animal shelter in this country. And actually, the Women's Animal Shelter, this is their 150th year, Laura? So 150 years they've been helping animals, which is just wonderful. That's great. So, we're going to help them. In fact, other pictures too. Isn't that cute? And Domino's up there too, if you had a chance to see Domino. So, here's what we're going to do. We are going to build an actual solution, application, completely data model driven in a 20-minute agile sprint. So we're going to help out the animal shelter with an actual real application. I'm just going to introduce the players first. We're going to play the game. And by the way, you're all players, and I'll introduce who's going to do what in a minute. But just very briefly, data modeler, you guys data modelers, developer, my brother Gary, okay. Business users, Laura and Domino. Okay. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a solution to streamline pet registration and adoption. We are going to go so agile, it is unbelievable. 20-minute sprint, and we're going to be done. I mentioned the roles. Laura, Domino, the users. We are the detectives. Let's go for that cool Sherlock Holmes detective role. Gary is our developer. And there's 2 rounds of questioning. We did not practice before this. This is completely ad hoc, no rehearsal. The only information I explained to Laura, we're just going to be asking you questions about the shelter. And what our goal is, I'm going to build the data model on this screen. And I have a couple of questions to get the modeling process going. I'm going to be shouting, Gary, what the screens may look like to help with development. And we're going to ask Laura questions. She's going to be answering the questions. There's 2 rounds of questioning. To complete the entire application in 20 minutes, we're going to spend about 7-8 minutes me asking questions. As I'm doing this, feel free. You each have a pen and paper. You could follow along, build your own data model, and think of other questions to ask for the second round, which will commence in about 7 minutes. I'm using ER Studio, our platinum sponsor, a little bit of a plug there, for the model. And what we're going to do is get started. So, I'm going to start by asking questions. Do your modeling. First time ever in the history of data modeling and development, model-driven development. We have no idea what's going to come out of this. No rehearsal. I need someone to be our timekeeper. Bill, I'm going to give you this. It says 1:15. The application will be done by 1:35. And we're going to start now.
Steve.